My name is Lucia De Torre, and I'm the interim dean of the Jarvis College of Computing and Digital Media. I also extend my welcome and thanks for joining us to celebrate our students. At Commencement, universities traditionally exercise one of their most cherished privileges by recognizing individuals who have distinguished themselves in their careers. Today, DePaul University is very proud to honor such an individual to the conferral of an honorary degree. President Manuel, Provost Ganem, it gives me great pleasure to present Dr. Kate Crawford. Professor Kate Crawford is an internationally celebrated expert on the social impacts of artificial intelligence. She's a professor of the University of Southern California, a senior principal researcher at Microsoft Research in New York, and the inaugural chair of the AI and Justice at the École Normale Supérieure in Paris. Professor Crawford has dedicated the past 20 years to understanding the social, political, and ecological impacts of AI systems. Her scholarship has greatly influenced current and future international policy for AI usage and shaped the field of responsible AI. Professor Crawford's service-minded approach to research is the model for how academics can create change in the world. Her award-winning book, Atlas of AI, shines a light on how AI affects our environment, human labor, and our political and social life. Atlas of AI was named a Book of the Year by both Science and the Financial Times, and is translated in 12 languages. Her writing and thought leaderships are informing policymakers around the world and is changing the direction of this technology for the better. One of Professor Crawford's many innovative projects, Knowing Machines, investigates the history and politics of how machine learning has developed. By interrogating the sources of ground truth that is being created from data sets, Dr. Crawford is helping the roots of our harms like bias and discrimination from AI. In addition to her scholarly work, Professor Crawford is also known for producing groundbreaking artwork and visualizations. Her project, Anatomy of an AI System, with Glenn Joller, won the Design of the Year award in 2019 and has been exhibited by over 100 museums around the world, including MoMA in New York, where it is in the permanent collections. She also co-produced the first exhibitions of training data images called Training Humans, which won the Ayrton Prize. Professor Crawford has also advised policymakers in the United Nations, the European Parliament, and the White House on AI technology, and was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in AI in 2023. Kate Crawford, in recognition of your groundbreaking research on artificial intelligence, the university proudly confers upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. It is now my honor to present our commencement speaker, Kate Crawford.
Thank you so much for that generous introduction, Dean De Torre. I am truly humbled to stand here before you today to accept this honorary doctorate. To the esteemed faculty, proud families, and most importantly, the brilliant graduates of the Jarvis College of Computing and Digital Media, congratulations, you did it. Let's take a moment. So I know very well how much you've had to go through to get here today. After all, the class of 2024 have endured so much. A pandemic, social distancing, endless Zooms, and of course, the great toilet paper shortage of 2020. You've also faced a world with intensifying global conflict and horror, from Gaza to Sudan to Ukraine. Now, long ago, I went to college in Australia. Back then, we didn't really do commencement speeches, so I had a lot of learning to do. I needed to do some research about the genre of the commencement address. And I'll be honest with you, it is in many ways quite a strange ritual. As the New York Times journalist A.O. Scott once wrote, the format for the ritual of commencement is that old people pretend to have wisdom for the young, and the young pretend to accept it. So, I think that should clear up our roles for today. But even this tradition of smiling and nodding while an elder tells you something that could have been summed up in an inspirational Instagram post, even this could be dying out. I saw that a university in New York State got a robot to give their commencement address this year. No, really. So perhaps there are two memorable occasions happening right now. It's your graduation into the world, and it might be the last time a human does this job before the robots take over. Which means I should cut right to the chase and discuss the most important advice that you, as newly minted graduates of DePaul University, most need to know. First, eat rocks. At least one small rock per day for all of the vitamins and minerals they provide. Second, whenever you make pizza, make sure that you add 1/8 of a cup of Elmer's glue. It is the only way to stop the cheese from sliding off. Trust me on this. And finally, for those of you who are or are looking to become pregnant, remember that doctors recommend smoking 2 to 3 cigarettes per day. Now, as you know, these are all bad recommendations, disastrously bad. And yet they were all provided by Google's new AI overview. That's right. It's only one of the most powerful AI engines in the world. So here we are in 2024, and one of the most sophisticated AI systems built by one of the biggest tech companies for billions of dollars is telling us to consume rocks, glue, and cigarettes, all as part of a healthy lifestyle. And perhaps you're not even shocked anymore after all of the tech scandals of the last decade. Remember Cambridge Analytica manipulating elections, or Facebook promoting ethnic cleansing in Myanmar, or Microsoft's Tay, the extremely friendly but deeply racist chatbot. Who can forget that one? Perhaps we're so accustomed to models hallucinating and AI gone wild that we don't even bat an eyelash. But if we stop to consider the scale and the strangeness of the current situation, it's actually a radical departure. Now, since I was a teen, I have relied on web searches pretty much for every imaginable kind of life advice. I've searched for apartments, jobs, holidays, what to read, where to eat, even who to date. Yes, I'll admit it. And that is just for starters. It is weird to recognize that so many of my life's decisions began with a web search. And sometimes I'd find something completely unexpected that would change my mind or open new pathways. But those very technologies that we have all relied on to bring us helpful resources are now confidently wrong. They are, in fact, telling us to do things that would bring us harm. Now, for my generation, the web was an extraordinary breakthrough. The first time I used a search engine, I was 15, and I had this deep thrill, along with an overwhelming sense that this was going to change the world. Those years felt so optimistic. This was long before deep fakes, doxing, and advertising tracking our every move. I taught myself to code alongside studying the social sciences, and I became fascinated with the wider implications of large-scale technical systems from the internet to machine learning. It was clear to me that in addition to building tech, we had to invest just as much time and resources in understanding the impacts that these systems have on people and the world. And now we are riding the wave of another dramatic technological change. In less than 2 years, generative AI has transformed the way millions of people are searching, writing, making images and videos. The first time I saw ChatGPT, I had another one of those weird feelings. I knew that this was going to change things in a profound way. But I could also remember my lessons from the web, because new technologies can come at a profound cost unless we're thinking ahead about the bargains we're making and choose wisely. Take the experience of using Google's AI search. Is it easier to get a single answer rather than individually scrolling between endless links? Yes. Is it quicker? Without doubt. But does it have downsides? Absolutely. Because in that process, we are ceding a very important human function, the process of selecting between things, of seeing the options out there, of choosing our own path. We are outsourcing discernment. Now, for the ancient Romans, the word discerne meant to sift through, to separate, to distinguish. For the Greeks, it took on a very particular value. Aristotle called it phronesis, or practical wisdom. This is the habit of how we find and apply knowledge in the world. Phronesis, for Aristotle, was the keystone of ethical living. It is that discerning faculty that allows us to navigate the complexities of everyday life. This wisdom is not a static thing. It's dynamic, it's evolving with our experiences, and it's continually enriched by each effort of making choices. Today, the time we spend judging and evaluating is often thought of as an inconvenience. Why not just get AI to do it? But in fact, it's one of the central features of being human. The ability to weigh options, to assess risks, to apply our values to the decisions that we make. These are not just skills, they are essential aspects of our humanity. So in a world driven by data and algorithms, we might be tempted to think that AI systems excel at decision-making because they can sift through all of that information and detect patterns that are invisible to us. And sure, they can do that, as everybody in this room knows. But what AI cannot do is understand the meaning and the significance of those patterns. By giving us a single confident answer or generating an image for us, we can be easily convinced that AI knows better. And in that moment, they become the directors of our decisions and the shapers of our destiny. I'm going to give you a recent example. So I've spent a lot of my career studying AI systems up close, investigating training data, testing how bias and discrimination can be baked into the tools that we use. I've done this for so long now that whenever a new AI model like GPT-4o comes out, my 11-year-old son gets really excited and he says, "Mum, are we going to test the new AI model yet? Can we do it?" Yeah, I mean, that's every kid's idea of a fun Saturday afternoon, right? Sorry, kiddo. So that's exactly what we did. We started by asking GPT-4o to produce images of doctors. It only generated pictures of white guys. We asked it for images of nurses. It only showed white women. A picture of a strong leader, we got an image of a guy in a suit. A worker, that was a Latinx man in a safety vest. And a parent, that was a white lady holding a baby. And what about a criminal? It generated an image of a black man wearing a hoodie. Each time, we could hardly believe it. I've spent more than a decade of my life writing papers and giving talks about the problems with bias and how AI systems represent us, because it can have lasting impacts on people. This is what we call representational harms. And while we have made progress in some areas, this problem clearly still persists. We are inscribing the most stereotyped, narrow, and retrograde ideas of what it is to be human into our most advanced technical systems. So, the reliance on AI can lead to a false sense of security, a belief that the machine's answer is the definitive one. But history has shown us time and time again that wisdom does not come from a single homogeneous vision, but from plurality, from the continuous questioning of what we believe to be true. That is discernment. And when AI systems centralize the power to shape reality into the hands of the few, well, it's even more dangerous. Now, of course, this doesn't mean that when we celebrate tonight, we're all going to put glue on our deep dish, because we can recognize when something is wildly wrong. But what about when something sounds quite credible or almost plausible, like incorrect medical advice or false information about a political candidate? That is going to be much harder when billions of AI recommendations are made every single day, and we know that these models hallucinate up to 24% of the time. So this means we're forfeiting our judgment to systems that frequently make mistakes that are hard to detect. And as the CEO of Google recently observed, and rightly, this is a fundamentally unsolved problem. So this is why we cannot abdicate our responsibility to think for ourselves. Rather than letting machines make our decisions, we should use them as tools to enhance our own critical judgment. Which brings me to you, dear class of 2024. This is obviously a wild moment for you to be graduating, when we have so much uncertainty, conflict, and turmoil in the world. But this is also a moment of extraordinary opportunity, because you are all standing at an inflection point where the entire tech industry and every other industry it touches is going through a massive shift. You are all going to be given incredible offers to be part of this moment, both here and around the world. So deciding where you work and what you'll contribute, it's never been more important. My genuine and not at all AI-generated advice is that you take this moment to choose very carefully. Not just what you do, that's a given, but how you do it. That's discernment. Because one day soon, you might be sitting in a conference room and there's a team making a decision. They'll be trying to decide if their new AI system should be released, even though it's not quite ready or there wasn't time to do a thorough assessment. It could start making recommendations that are wrong or even dangerous. But it's a competitive field and there's pressure to get it out, and your rivals are right behind you. So you are going to have to make a choice. Do you speak up or do you let it go? Because it's easier to stay silent. It's these moments of discernment that will define you, not just your career, but your sense of self. Because what you choose to do and what you choose not to do are equally important. Ultimately, what we need most right now are people who bring skills in understanding technical systems, but an equal commitment to social equity and sustainability. Because fundamentally, these aspects are always intertwined. Bruno Latour, the founder of Science and Technology Studies, put it this way: it is impossible to think of technology, science, and society as if they're separate realms of human activity. They are indivisible. And I should add, socially responsible computing is going to be even more in demand once people are sick of eating all those rocks. I mean, it's coming. So there will still be people who will tell you just to focus on the technical side and leave the social and ethical questions out of it. And this is particularly true when there's an AI race going on. So I'll admit, there are days when I'm deeply worried that the tech industry is prioritizing the wrong things, like speed and hype above all else. But on those days, I go for long hikes, I catch up with my friends, and I watch a movie with my kid. And I remind myself that we're at the very beginning of this monumental shift. And this is why addressing the social impacts of artificial intelligence is so urgent, why it's fulfilling, and frankly, why it needs you. So, class of 2024, your time starts now. You've graduated from a great school that's given you all of the training and the skills that you need, but it's also taught you something that's just as important, the power of discernment. So use it wisely and bring not just your expertise, but also your humanity to everything you do. Congratulations. I wish you all the luck in the world and enjoy eating those rocks. Thanks.